I'm joined now by Alvin Lin from Beijing. He's the Climate and Energy Policy Director of the China Program at the Natural Resources Defense Council. So, Alvin, describe China's role in green car technology. Do you think it will soon overtake the United States?
Thanks, Elaine. It's great to be here. I would say China is actually already overtaking the U.S. It's the largest electric vehicle market in the world. The final numbers from December aren't in, but it probably passed the 1 million electric vehicle mark last year. So that's a new landmark. As we heard, there's regulations to incentivize both Chinese and foreign car makers in China to produce a certain amount of electric vehicles. That's coming into play this year. So there's a 10% requirement this year, 12% requirement next year, and as we heard, 20% by 2025. So it's already, I think, really pushing forward to become the leader in electric vehicles globally.
As we know, Tesla CEO Elon Musk was in Shanghai this week to break ground on a new Tesla factory there. I want to get your take on that and the fact China is opening up to foreign companies when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, as we know, Tesla has been really at the forefront of pushing the major automakers to shift from fossil fuel vehicles to electric vehicles. It came out, of course, with some of the leading electric vehicles to show the viability of the technology and show that electric vehicles were actually better than fossil fuel vehicles. They're faster. They could be very attractive to consumers. And they've just come out, of course, with the Model 3. Elon Musk was in China to open the factory that's going to be producing that very soon, as soon as possible. So I think it's really showing that there's a space here, a huge space for automakers to be producing vehicles that are both low carbon, also low air pollution emissions, and that consumers want. This is when you're going to be driving the future vehicle that are autonomous. They're not going to be fossil fuel based in the future.
Norway is one country that's pushing for green cars with incentives like free parking, lower taxes. Last year, 1 in 3 new cars sold there in Norway was electric. Do you think incentives like those can work in other countries like China?
Yes, and actually, China has its own incentives. The U.S. has tax incentives as well. Those have been really important in introducing the technology and pushing for it. I think in a few years, those are going to be phased out. They're not going to be as necessary as consumers will actually be wanting to buy an electric vehicle because, as I said, they're sort of more convenient. You don't have to deal with fluctuating gasoline costs. It might cost you $5 to drive your electric vehicle for a month as opposed to $80 or $100 for a gasoline vehicle. So the long-term cost of use is much lower, and there's a lot less maintenance. You don't need to have so many parts in your vehicle and your engine to maintain.
And Alvin, that all sounds great, but what do you think will be the tipping point to say how many years will it be down the road where we see almost everyone driving an electric car? What is it going to take to convince people just to stay away from gas and go toward electric?
Well, it's happening now. I think you've got definitely the early adopters, but it's also becoming mainstream now. As I mentioned, every single car maker now is looking at developing their electric vehicle lines into a growing and even the main source of their business. Volvo, for example, will only be producing electric vehicles very soon. All of the German, Japanese, U.S. automakers that are all selling vehicles in China are all going to be producing electric vehicles. So it's happening right now. I think what we've got to do now is we've got to continue to build out the charging infrastructure to make it convenient to charge electric vehicles, even for people who don't have their own garage. And then I think government has to continue to set those kinds of targets and the kind of regulations, incentives to really speed up adoption. What we want to hit is we want to be phasing out all fossil fuels, whether that's coal, whether that's oil for transportation, but we want to be phasing those out entirely by 2050. So some countries will be doing that earlier, some countries will be doing that later. but this has enormous benefits, of course, for climate change, but also for air pollution reduction. This is simply, the technology of the future. Clean vehicle technology, clean energy. It matches very well with renewable energy.
Alvin Lin, thank you for joining us from Beijing.